Aloha, it's Creative Name to stand out again with another battle report. So again, I got to go in on a Monday night to my local game store and get a nice 2,500 point game. It was Ogre Kingdoms, a regular opponent of mine, and my Dark Elves. We rolled up Battle for the Pass, and this is how he set up, and this is how I set up. And my opponent really threw me off, so when it came down to place my executioners, I was very desperate to get them in a position that would get them into combat with the Mornfang, because they're really the only unit I have to handle the Mornfang fairly easily. And I goofed up, and this is what I came up with. But starting with my opponent's deployment, in the far flank we have a scrap launcher, his lead belchers, who have the butcher in them, and then 30 Noblars together in a horde. Then we have his large unit of Iron Guts, which have the rest of his 3 characters, which includes the BSB and the General. And then finally in his close flank we have his 5 Mornfang Cavalry. Now across from that we have my Dark Riders, the Cold One Chariot, my Executioners, who are just trying to be matched up against the Mornfang, even though they're going to be a second before they get into combat with them. In that unit is a Wizard, 48 Spearmen with the Stubborn Crown Noble. We have my level 4 Sorceress, the Cauldron of Blood, 30 Witches with my BSB Witch, and another Cold One Chariot. Alright, so I'll go ahead and jump into Dark Elf turn 1, and I just start pushing forward. When we compare each other's armies, he has a range advantage on me, but in this lineup that he has, he's split his army pretty neatly for me. In the upper corner he has all his shooting elements, and then of course his 2 main combat blocks are in the bottom left, which happens to be where I front loaded all my units. So I'm going to really just push forward and hopefully get into combat as soon as possible. We go into the magic phase. I get enough spell dice to cast 4 spells. I start off with Chain Lightning and Thunderbolt, and he dispels those pretty easily, but then I sneak in Ice Shard Blizzard here, and he's going to charge my Dark Riders. He might try to redirect, and so I'm hoping the modifier to his leadership will make him fail. And then we can see what at the end of my magic phase I also cast Comet. It's a low level one. I'm just putting it there for future turns. If he wants to move into it, that's great for me, and it's a little bit far away from me now that I can also close the gap on him. So this is what the board looks like after the magic phase and after the little bit of shooting I do, and we go into Ogre Kingdoms turn 1. My opponent declares a charge with his Mornfang against my Dark Riders. I of course select to flee because I don't want to deal with that. He attempts to pursue them, but luckily for me, I get away. In the movement phase, he moves his lines as you can see here. And then we go into the magic phase, and the Comet does not come down, but it adds another token, and he casts Curse of Honor here on my Chariot, but unfortunately it gets off with Irresistible Force, and the resulting miscast makes him take a wound on his Slaughtermaster, and then another wound on his Butcher. After that, he doesn't have a lot of spell dice, and I'm able to stop the rest of his castings. We go into the shooting phase, and it's a little less than spectacular, but he ends up killing about 3 witches. So that's it, and we go into Dark Elf turn 2. Alright, so this is Dark Elf turn 2. This is pretty much all that happened. I did not have any charges to declare. I didn't have enough shooting really to make a dent in his ogres, and he stopped my magic phase because this is the turn that he used his Hellheart, which made me lose, I think, a lot of my spell dice. My Dark Riders rally, I put him over here to redirect the Mornfang if they want to charge. Otherwise, he's really stuck in the little death radius trap that I got going for him with that Comet, and there's really no reason for me to push too far forward. I push up just enough so that when he charges me, he'll still be in the threat of the Comet. And then that's my turn, so let's go into Ogre Kingdoms turn 2. Alright, so my opponent declares again his charge with the Mornfang at my fast cav. I flee. That pushes them right in front of the Iron Guts, which was pretty cool. I liked that. He then was forced to charge the Iron Guts at the fast cav, which pushes them behind my lines, as you can see here. The large unit redirects into the Spearmen after that. They pass their leadership check, and they, of course, as you can see here, they made it. I have double insurance in this combat. I have both my Stubborn Crown Noble and a whole bunch of ranks. I'm hoping that having both of them there will mean that at least one of those aspects will be alive, and I'll have Stubborn afterwards. If I can hold up here, then this unit's in pretty big trouble. I'm going to be able to flank them with my Executioners, I think, and I don't know. I thought I could do it with the Witches too, but it ends up there in the front. Here we can see the Chariot that his Mornfang attempted to redirect, but of course they failed and they were stuck in the back. So here's a picture of the board after the movement phase. And then the magic phase, the comet finally comes down and it kills 3 of the 5 Mournfang. It knocks out enough ogres to rob them of a back rank. And then these guys take a morale check and start to flee. So the comet was fairly successful, and I can't say that I was disappointed. And just a little too late, his butcher puts regeneration on his iron guts, but of course the comet's already come down and he could really have used it for that, but at least now he has it for the combat. In the shooting phase, he moves his lead belchers into position and opens up on my far upper chariot, and unfortunately he kills it. So it wasn't really doing a good job of serving a purpose, but now it's dead. In combat, you can already see that he killed about 18 of my spearmen, plus more probably. And but at the end of the day, I have more ranks than him, and I was able to stick. So now he's in some trouble. And look at that trouble. He got a chariot in the flank, my executioners in the flank, some witches hit him in the front. It's pretty much, the heart of my army is attacking his unit. There's another little picture of it. Enjoy it. Another picture of it. Oh, that's me, a cauldron, getting into position to help everybody get rerolls. My Dark Riders rally and start moving up the flank. In the magic phase, he stops my comet from going off near his lead belchers, but then as a consequence, I'm able to get off Ice Shard, Blizzard, and Miasma over in the combat. And I'm also able to get off the bounce spell onto my executioners, so now they have a +1 attack, so that's going to be pretty awesome. In the shooting phase, I'm even able to kill one of the Mournfang with my fast cav shooting from long range. So when it comes their time again, they're going to have to need double ones to rally. So we go into combat, and as you can see here, it is very, very bloody. My executioners don't take a lot of damage, neither does my chariot. There wasn't a lot facing them, they killed a lot of things. But the spearmen, of course, you can see lost quite a few guys, and the witches lost quite a few women, or elves, I guess. And so I don't kill any of his characters. I do put a couple wounds here and there on them, but I do kill a lot of Iron Guts. He loses combat but little because of the amount of combat res he's able to generate, and he sticks. Alright, so in Ogre Kingdoms turn 3, this guy continues to run. He doesn't rally. And then these Noblars, I didn't mention it last turn, but I'll mention it here. They kind of found themselves in a stupidity forest, and so they're kind of bumbling forward each turn now because they're failing their stupidity checks, and it's really causing his lead belchers to not be able to participate in the fight. It could have been helpful for them to maybe hit the witches in the flank, but the stupid Noblars got in their way. In the magic phase, he casts Wissen's Wild Form onto his combat unit, hopefully just to help him out. And it does kind of help him out. I'm unable to do a whole lot of wounds. I do kill some more Iron Guts, and I do put a bunch of the characters, I think, on 1 wound. But otherwise, I think it ends up being a tie, and we both stick. But of course, it's one of those long, slow deaths. Alright, so we go ahead and just jump into Dark Elf turn 4. I'm going to declare a charge of the Cold One Chariot here at the bottom, right there, into the rear of the combat unit. And then I'm also going to declare a charge with my Dark Riders into the Mournfang just to push them off the board. So I go ahead and do that. I don't think I really cast any spells in combat this turn either, but it's really not necessary. Or maybe I did. I can see something there. But so maybe I put a curse on him, and we go into combat. I do impact hits. I end up doing, I think, 7. And then that's pretty much puts me over the edge. I'm able to kill a bunch of the Iron Guts. My executioners are able to finish off the tyrant. The spearmen and the witches are able to put in the last wounds on the BSB, and they break, and I run them down. Alright, so this last picture here shows the Dark Riders pushing the Mournfang Cavalry off the board. At this point, my opponent calls, the deficit has really opened up, and my opponent looks at the time and says, you know what, Dark Elf victory. So here we go, Dark Elf victory. I get the points for this huge Iron Gut unit and the Mournfang. And now let's go into what I think I could have done differently. Alright, so this picture here really illustrates the 2 major mistakes. Alright, the first mistake is kind of minor, but it's a mistake nonetheless. It's my chariot in the far upper flank. This is a unit I did not give a roll to. I kind of aimed it towards the chariot, the scrap launcher, and said if I get there, I get there. If not, it's a distraction. And that's just not a very good roll to put to something, especially something as utilitarian as a chariot. So I needed to not throw away units. I'm not playing an army that has it has any throwaway units really. Maybe my Dark Riders, but everything needs to have a role, a function, and needs to execute it. And this time I didn't do that, and it could have easily have come back to bite me in the ass if those say lead belchers were able to support the combat later later in round 3 or something. Now, a thing that kind of led to that mistake was that my overall deployment was pretty poor. My executioners here on the bottom flank were trying to mirror the Mournfang across from them. If I would have created enough space for them between the table edge and the chariot, I would have been a smarter player. Or maybe if I would have reformed them in 5 wide rather than 7 wide. I don't know why I was so stubborn. I'm just discovering it now. I could have easily done that. Or very much just not have put the chariot on this side of the spearman. Now, throughout the game, it worked out well. I mean, the chariot really helped clean up that combat with the iron guts. But I mean, that's just fluke. That's not my plan. That was just something that developed and worked out. Uh, if my opponent had made that one Mournfang charge, it would have just been a hassle for me. But things worked out, not because I tactically planned them to, but because I guess I adjusted to the battlefield as it developed. But you never want to go into a battle without some sort of skeletal plan, and clearly my initial plan was very poorly conceived. So those are just some things I could do differently. Lately I've been making a lot of deployment mistakes, especially in this next battle that I'll be posting probably later in the week against Lizardmen. I made some pretty bad deployment mistakes there also. So this last picture here shows my Chaos Warriors. If I haven't stated it already, I am starting a Chaos Army. I'm going to call it the Pyre Legion. I used to have a Chaos Space Marine Army that I also called the Pyre Legion. It was also orange. So I'm going to kind of reincarnate it into fantasy because I really liked the color scheme, and so I'm going to execute it here. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this battle report. I know next week we're going to get a lot of great battle reports from all the regular YouTubers from that big old competition they're going to. I already forgot what it's called, but I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you enjoy this in the meantime. So again, please like, comment, or subscribe if you haven't already. I really enjoy doing this, and I love hearing from you guys. All right, thank you very much, and see you later.